Okay, everybody, welcome back. So it's time to continue where we last left off. Now, I noticed something after I stopped recording the last video. I'll just press play and see if you can spot the issue that I have. Hold up the image target. We seem to have a 50-mile pterodactyl flying around, so I think we need to do something about the size of the bird. Now, if you remember, when I created the bird, we actually scaled it to 2.2, and that's what we need to do here now. So let's change on the Raycast script, let's change the size of the bird to be back to 2.2. And if I hold up the image target again, we should have the bird around the right size now. Yeah, that's much better. It's not a Jurassic game, so let's not have a gigantic bird flying around. Okay, so back to what we need to continue with now. Okay, so we were working on the take shot, and what we've just done is instantiated the gun flash particle system. Still needs a little bit of work. I mean, you guys can go at that to your heart's content to get it looking exactly how you want it to. Now, what I want to do next is I want to actually get the information back from this Raycast hit and then write onto the screen in this little object name the item that we've actually hit. Now, before we do that, I want to talk to you about layers for a second. Now, if you come into the resources folder where we saved the bird, if we click on it once, you can see we've got it in the inspector. Now, up here, we've already visited tags, but what I want to show you now is layers. Now, we have the ability to place different objects on different layers. So imagine them as screen protectors over the top of the mobile device, and we can have the background on one layer, we can have the graphic user interface on another layer, which actually opens a door to having the bird on its own distinctive layer. And that's the way that we're going to distinguish the hit being for the bird rather than a different object in the scene. So while the bird's selected, I want you to come over to layers and I want you to add a new layer. Now, nice and easy, let's just call this bird layer, okay, and save it. And now I want you to come back to the layer again, to the bird again, sorry, and I want you to change the layer so the bird appears on the bird layer. Yes, we want to do it to all the child objects as well, like so. And now the bird will be assigned to the bird layer. So now what we can do is only register hits and act accordingly if we have actually hit an object on the correct layer. Now the way that we're going to do this is create an integer so that the system can cycle through the different layers, starting at 0 and going down to the bird layer. So what we're going to do is create a layer mask, and then we're going to assign the layer mask to be the layer mask dot get mask, and we're going to get the string name for the bird layer. Okay, so if I just write in bird layer here, now what we can do is we can detect and filter out anything else that the laser hits from the Raycast and only act if we actually hit the bird. So the way that we're going to do that is to tap into the physics of the Raycast system, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say that from the ray, I want you to send out the information from the hit variable, and I want you to only give me information which falls within the maximum distance that we have to play within our boundaries. And we had a max distance ray which we declared up at the top. If you remember, if I just scroll up, there is the max distance ray, which would be 100 grid units. And then I want to additionally add a specific layer mask. Well, the layer mask that we want to actually look for is the variable above that we've just created, the integer variable. Okay, so that will exclude anything else that falls outside the results of the Raycast hit. Now, once we've fired a Raycast out from the middle of the camera, from here, and we've hit a bird, I want to actually just check now and just debug, basically, that we are hitting the correct thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign our object name variable, and I'm going to assign that to what the hit variable above the Raycast, what collider that has hit, and tell me the game object's name. Okay, so that means that we've got a hold of the variable and assigned it into our object name. And then once we've done that, if we scroll to the top, you can see that we wrote the bird name onto the screen here, and that's what we actually dragged into the controller. Okay, so that's where I want to display this name. So let's get the bird name and set the text inside that text field to equal the object name that we've just actually hit. Okay, so now when we fire the button, it should take the shot from the center of the screen, and then if we have hit the bird on the bird layer, then inside this little if statement here, we're then going to retrieve the name of the game object that the collider has hit. We're then going to drop that into our object name variable, and then we're going to write that onto the screen into the bird name text field here. So let's just double check everything. The name of the layer is bird layer, and the object name has been dragged into the Raycast. So on the Raycast, the object name is here. Yep, that's correct. And then the bird is on the layer called bird layer, and it doesn't have an underscore. Go. So remember, this is case sensitive. So now let's give it a run and see what happens when I hold up the image target. Okay, let's trigger off the AR. Get my mouse button ready to shoot the bird. If you can see, if I click now, we're not hitting anything. But if I can manage to get the bird, it should give us, there we go, bird asset clone. So it's successfully detected that we hit the bird. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is when we hit the bird, actually destroy the bird and show some kind of explosion animation. Okay, so let's first get the position of the bird if we hit it. So let's create a new variable, which will be a vector3. And this will be the actual, not an equals, the bird position. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to assign this to be the X, Y, and Z coordinate where the hit collision was found in the 3D world. So what we need to do is go into the hit again through the collider for the game object that's actually just been hit, and we want to get its transform position. So now what that should become is an XYZ coordinate of the location of the bird at the actual time of impact. So if we check that the name of the game object that's hit is actually the bird asset clone, then let's destroy that object and instantiate an explosion at that location. So let's do an if statement, and let's just check that from the object name, the actual name of the item that was hit was in fact the bird asset clone, as that's how Unity will display the actual item. Bird object name is wrong. We've already got the object name from here. That's what we went after. So we just need to check that the object name is actually the clone, which will be loaded from the resources. So if that is the case, if we have indeed hit a bird asset clone, then we can use an inbuilt function in Unity that's called destroy, and that will destroy any object that we choose. Well, the object that we want to actually destroy is the game object that has been hit, and then we go through the collider again into the game object, and that's what we want to destroy. Okay, so once that's done, we then want to play sound effects and do a bunch of other things, and then we want to spawn a new bird. So that's what we'll do 3 seconds later. Okay, so let's give it a quick run and see what happens. What I want to happen is we see the bird flying around. If I manage to shoot the bird, the object name will be written into the object name text field, and the bird should be destroyed. And then 3 seconds later, a new bird should appear in a random location. So if I just try and... there we go, it's gone. 1, 2, 3. And, no new bird. 1 second then. Let's have a quick look. First thing I want to do is check that, the spawn new bird is actually a coroutine, so we can't access it directly in this manner. We have to start a coroutine and then call the spawn bird function. So slight change, let's give it another run and see how it works. Okay, so let's hold up the image target and trigger off the AR again, and then try and get a bird. No, I missed. 1 second, guys. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and a new bird has appeared. Missed the bird. Missed the bird again. I'll give it one last shot. See if I can hit the bird on the 3rd attempt. Yep, 1, 2, 3, and another bird. Okay, the bird's a little bit tough to actually hit, so that's fine if you want to make the game difficult, but it needs to be playable. So I'm just going to bring the bird out again, and I'm going to go to the scene view for a second in 3D, double click on the bird, and I'm going to increase the collider just to make it that little bit easier to actually hit the bird in the first place. So I'll increase the Y. Oh, no, not that Y, this Y. There we go. And I'll increase the X slightly and the Z slightly. And if it becomes too easy, we can always correct this. Once you've done the change, apply, and that will apply it to the prefab in the resources folder. And then we can right click and we can delete that object again. Okay, cool. So now what we've got is the way to fire a Raycast out. And if we hit the bird on the correct layer, then we're now destroying that game object and then calling the spawn new bird function. Okay, so now let's make some kind of explosion particle system that wants to happen if you actually hit a bird. Now, in the prefabs for the standard assets, particle systems, we have an explosion and an explosion mobile. So let's drag that out onto the scene for a second. Okay, this one's a little bit tricky to see, but it actually has 3 different particle systems inside. If I just cycle through them, I can play each one individually. Here are some sparks. There we go. And here's a fireball. Boom. Okay. So what I want to do is drag that into the resources folder and make our own prefab, and then remove that from the scene. Okay, to make life easier in the code, I'm just going to call this boom and save the scene. So now we have an explosion prefab that we can instantiate at the precise location that the bird collision was detected. So let's do that before we destroy the object so that we can still see the bird for a split second in the background. And here we go then. So we need to do exactly the same as below. So I'm going to do that and change to the variables. We're going to create a new game object, except this one is going to be called boom. And I want to load in the boom variable. Then what I want to do is get the boom transforms position when it's been loaded onto the scene and move it into the precise location that the bird was hit. Well, the precise location is the bird location. So there we go. Now this already has the position, so we can remove this line here. So now when we hit a clone, we will instantiate that prefab with the 3 different individual particle systems. And because when we got the position of the Raycast collider hit position, the coordinates, we can now move that straight away to that exact X, Y, and Z location. So we should see the explosion happen where the bird has actually been detected. We then destroy the bird game object and spawn a new one. So let's see how that looks now. Okay, here we go again. Let's hold up the image target, tilt slightly, and try and shoot this bird. When I hit it, boom, there we go, fantastic. 3 seconds later, another bird, and boom, got you again. So the new collider's working much better. Now, there's one slight thing I also want to address. If I just come out of Maximize on Play for a second, and that's to do with the memory. If we look down the side here, we can see that the bird asset clone has been spawned. I'll hold up the image target. Now watch what happens to the hierarchy when I actually shoot the bird. Here we go. If I can shoot the bird. No, I missed. Come back. Ah! Terrible at this game, guys. Got it. Okay. So look, boom, clone. Okay. If I can shoot the bird again, boom. And look, another one. Gun flash smoke clone and boom clone. So every time I take a shot, we're adding additional particle systems to the hierarchy. Now, even though they've processed, they're still present in the background. There we go, another one. So we're going to have to loop through these and remove those after we've actually triggered them off in the first place.